Hey guys, so Tasha from Scruffy Fam, a long time no see. It has been a hot minute between my back getting hurt and then we've had two sets of colds. One before my back got hurt and then one that I'm just kind of at the tail end of now. Yeah, it's been ridiculous lately. And then on top of it, all of the job changes and so much stuff. Okay, so I'm sorry it's been so long. I know Joe already did an update video, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But we are on the mend, we're doing better, and so we're going to be getting back to it. You'll see in this video, our yard and our garden is showing that we have not been able to get out here and do a whole lot. And I want to preface, give you a little bit of a warning that basically everything went wild. We recently mowed the lawn, so that part at least looks halfway decent. The weeds are crazy. We're in the middle of a project that got stopped. And of course it is like noon, so that's like the worst time of day to be shooting a video, but this is when I had a minute to come out here and do it, so this is when we're gonna do it. That's our life right now, so let's get to it without further ado. There was one thing I wanted to show you guys. So I don't really know how, but somehow catnip has I didn't plant any catnip this year, actually. I've harvested a ton of it and all of it was volunteer. And so I just kind of want to show you all of the little places that catnip just kind of put itself. So we've got it here, and of course you can see now it's going to flower. It's been pretty toasty. So yep, there's this little catnip here. We have this one here. This is the one that was my main. You can see it's nice and big and bushy because I was harvesting off of this. There's this one, which is a little bit, it's drying out and dying now. There's this one, which is full of, I wonder if this mixed with something, because it's acting weird. It's a weird catnip. And then there's this one. This one mixed in with other stuff. But wait, there's more. All the way up here in our front yard, which has not been mowed quite yet, but this guy. Look at this. So this thing came up. I don't even think I can find it now. There's a tiny little crack in the landscape fabric. This whole thing grew up in the middle of that and did its thing. And as you can tell, like, it's had bees all over it, so I haven't had the heart to pull it out. This elderberry is gonna go, by the way. We'll talk about that later. So yeah. Had volunteer catnip around our entire property. I've harvested and dried a bunch of it. I actually still have some medicine I made with catnip from last year. And honestly, I'm just gonna most of it I'm just gonna let go to flower, so we'll see where it pops up next year. Okay, so let's get to the actual tour now. So when I say things have overgrown a little bit, this was a walkway, and you can see, so there's some carrots in here, which, I'm so afraid of ticks. So there's a couple carrots in here. These are the Pusa Aceta. They're like a heat tolerant carrot. Hadn't done anything for a long time until I came out here and hacked back the lettuce and kale. Look at this kale. There's 4 kales in here. And honestly, I haven't eaten much of it. I'm just kind of in awe at how huge they are. Yeah, so some of these carrots actually came up once I started getting sun. There's some beets in there. I don't even know what's happening with those. They look tiny. I probably just need to pull them. Honestly, this whole bed just needs to get pulled. We need to take the string off. That's the little square foot gardening markers. Pull out our trellis here and just like yank everything, put down some new soil, some compost, some amendments, and this needs to get turned into our fall garden. The onions I started from seed didn't do anything, so I actually got some onion sets, and so that's these guys here I threw in the ground with the proper spacing to possibly turn into actual onions. I don't know if it'll happen. They got put in there really late. This guy here, so completely overgrown. Yeah, these two squares have the proper spacing for like big bulbs. These two squares I planted specifically super close together just so that I can harvest these greens and basically have green onions. And then I still had sets, so I threw some more up there. Yeah, that's this entire bed. There's kale, carrots, beets, onion, and weeds. Lots of weeds. So many weeds. So I'm seeing that as soon as my children are able to, I need to give them the chore of weed pulling. As soon as I can trust them to pull the right things. Oh, yeah, so this is pretty cool. Almost this entire thing in this fire pit is one tomato plant that was a volunteer. We actually threw a bunch of stuff in here and burned it last year, and somehow this came up out of that. I'm pretty sure, from looking at the fruit, that this came from our black cherry that we grew last year, but it looks way bigger. So I kind of wonder if it actually crossbred with one of our bigger tomatoes and then grew this. I've actually harvested some tomatoes off of it, so I think that's pretty cool. Here is our potato bed, which you can tell is really died back from what it was. I actually don't know how many potatoes we're gonna get out of this. I think, oh, look at that. I just noticed that something's been digging in here because that's a potato that's on the surface and chewed up. What? Okay, so this needs to get harvested. Some of these plants I think just got attacked. We do have a rabbit. We did have a rabbit before we got the fence put on that came up here and made a nest, and I think that killed off some of the plants. So I'm really curious to see what we get out of this, but we're going to do this later this week. There's supposed to be more thunderstorms on Saturday. We just got past a whole bunch of thunderstorms, so we were waiting for it to dry out a little bit more. So I think Friday is going to be our big potato digging day. This monstrosity, okay, I've never grown zucchini before. Let me preface that. I thought they grow up like the other vining things, like, you know, this is cucumber and melons that are growing on the trellis. I didn't know it would all stay here, and I didn't know all of the actual zucchini would be at the bottom. This has been a pain and a half to harvest from, because, I mean, look at it. So, the zucchini will be in a different spot next year, that's for sure. We have our little basil here. It's much happier since the potatoes died back and actually get some sun. I have my monster cucumber here. I'm waiting for it to super over ripen, and then I'm going to try to save seeds from that. This is the bush pickling cucumber, which has climbed a decent way up the trellis, as you can see. We've gotten quite a few cucumbers this year already, so I'm happy. And then here, oh darn, I just harvested it this morning. I should have left it for the video. This is sugar baby watermelon. And, oh, hi monarch butterfly. Gorgeous you. So this is the sugar baby watermelon, which has climbed pretty much the entire thing. This did start getting some blossom end rot. As you can see here, we had some baby watermelons, and they just kind of shriveled up and fell off and died. And it really hasn't done anything since then. You know, it's got some new growth here, so maybe we'll get another one, but I'm not going to hold my breath. We've got two, one from each plant. If that's what we get for this year, you know, it's my first time growing watermelon, I'll take it. Still a great learning experience. On the flip side, however, let me show you, buried in here, this little guy is our cantaloupe. This is the Petite Gris de Rennes. So it's a mini cantaloupe, basically. And this plant, for the longest time, did absolutely nothing. I thought for sure that it wasn't going to, and then started noticing these fruits. And so all these little guys here are more cantaloupe. So this plant was a late bloomer, I guess, and now it's, let's see, we got another one down here, and it's climbing nice and high, and it's covered in fruit, and I'm super excited because I actually really like cantaloupe. Oh, zucchini. That was such a bad spot to put zucchini. I wish I knew. I should have done more research, but live and learn. That's life of a gardener. Here's our big guy cantaloupe so far. You can see how big that is there. I'm not 100% sure how big these guys actually get. But, you know, much like the sugar baby watermelon, when it stops getting bigger for a while, I'll cut it off and we'll try it. If it's not quite ready, then we'll know for the other ones. So this guy here, I don't know if there's any fruit. I'm trying to find one to show you guys. It's been really fun. It is the dragon's egg cucumber. I think I saw a baby one, but I'm not entirely sure where it was. So it's these little white cucumbers. I'll show you when we go inside, because obviously I have a ton that we've harvested. They're, you know, they fit in the palm of your hand, and they're white and egg-shaped, and they're really great for eating fresh. So my daughter has been really enjoying that. My son's not a big cucumber fan. Oh, I just love coming out here and seeing the bees on all these flowers. So you know what really doesn't help? The cucumber and both melons all have the exact same flower. So it's really hard to tell what they're pollinating. Oh, here we go. Here's a baby. So this is a baby, hi bee, don't mind me. A baby dragon's egg cucumber, so you can kind of see as it gets bigger. They're a lot of fun. I kind of like the novelty. And then this here is another bush cucumber, which actually, I saw this little guy, not little, saw that guy hiding back here. He needs to come inside before he gets grotesquely big. I don't need 2 seed cucumbers. Alright, oh, and I guess the giant elephant in the room, huh? Or maybe the corn. So I have 4 squares, so 16 of these, I think it's double standard sweet corn. They didn't get super big, but they also got covered in earwigs, so I'm wondering if that stunted their growth. Or maybe this is normal for them. I don't know. But as you can see, we have quite a few ears in here that need to be harvested. I just wanted to record this before we did that because it's super impressive. And then this one here is 16 more of the glass gem corn. And this thing is like, okay, so here's my arm, like as high up as it can go. And I'm like, this thing's gotta be like 9 feet tall. I'm really impressed. It's just kind of cool to look at. There's some of them here you can see right there that are getting ready to be picked. But I'm gonna wait because I can't harvest those. I'm gonna have to cut the whole thing down. So maybe we'll let these dry out and have those be our Thanksgiving decorations out front this year. That'd be kind of fun. Over here was the bush beans. They are long gone, done, and over with. They were getting a little bit overgrown and kind of towards the end of their growing potential. And they were really shading out my peppers here. So I made a big mistake putting beans in front of peppers. Learned that lesson. But as you can see, these are the habanadas. And so it's got quite a few little ones on it. I'm waiting for them to ripen. I tried one when it was green. It didn't taste great, and it actually was still a little bit spicy. So I'm waiting until they ripen and see what that looks like. This is the King of the North bell pepper from Fruition. This one's loving the fact that it's finally getting some sun, and I'm loving that I might actually get bell peppers this year. That'll be my first time growing successful bell peppers. This guy breaks my heart because I was so excited for this plant. You can barely even see it there. Let me shade it. Can you see that? It's the collage striped pepper. Look at this leaf. Isn't that just gorgeous? I might actually pull this guy out and overwinter him in a pot. I really, really, really want these peppers. So, we'll see. Here is a Rama Tulsi. Doing amazing, nice and beautiful. It was covered in beans, so it is also enjoying the sun. This was a Rama Tulsi. You can probably still see some of the sticks in there. I don't know why. This was calendula. Is calendula right here. As you can see, it's kind of dying out now, but so it grew over the top of the Tulsi, trying to find sun, killed the Tulsi. I don't know how this Tulsi died from calendula, or I'm sorry, chamomile. Did I call this calendula? This is the chamomile plant. The chamomile killed the Tulsi, but the beans shading this one. Oh, hi friend. Ooh. Oh. Yeah, beans shaded this one totally fine. I don't get it. It's so weird. And then there's this guy, which is covered in these fruits, but you know what? I don't think this is the right plant. And I planted this one from seed, so I'm really confused. This is supposed to be an Ancho Poblano. I grew an Ancho Poblano from seed last year. I only got one tiny little fruit off of it. None of them looked like this. I mean, they're like pale yellow. So I really am not sure what I grew. Long and short of it. So, that's fun. There's our little tiny jalapeno. It gave me one pepper, and then it's just kind of sitting there. You just didn't get off to a good start. There's the Stevia, which I think just got shaded out. But, you know, it's still going. I might see if I can overwinter this one as well. Here, if you know medicinal plants, you know this guy. This is my yarrow, which got nice and big and bushy. I've harvested, gosh, countless of these stems. There's still some flowers here that I need to do something with. But yeah, it's doing really well. I need to harvest more of it. And I don't think this one will come back next year. This one though, this is the Marshmallow. If you can tell, it's in the hollyhock family. So if you have hollyhock, actually I think it's the hibiscus family. So hibiscus flowers, hollyhock, marshmallow, all their flowers kind of look the same. So it's really pretty. Don't use the flowers. I am currently using just the leaves. And then probably in another year or two. This one's a perennial and it'll keep growing here. It'll keep getting bigger every year, I guess. Oh lordy, that'll be interesting. But eventually I will cut the whole thing down and harvest the roots. That's ultimately what I'm going for. And there was some lettuce back in there. It's eaten by bugs, and yeah, just kind of went a little wild and probably seeded itself all over the place. So probably gonna have wild lettuce coming out next year. There are more flowers open now than there was when I came out here. So this is the Calendula Patch. Mind the giant weed here. This was 100% volunteer from last year because I just couldn't get out to deal with the flowers before they went to seed. Goodness, yeah, this thing's like way overgrown. So we're getting all kinds of flowers, and you know the really interesting thing? The really interesting thing to me about this calendula is every time I've grown it from seed, the plant ends up covered in these little bugs, little red bugs. And I can see here there's one stem now that has some of them on it. The flower's already gone. With this volunteer patch, these bugs here, see that stem there? Covered in little bugs. Those bugs are the very first ones that I have seen on this patch all summer. It's very interesting to me. I need to harvest a few more of these flowers, but we'll do that later. The kids are currently, we're doing herbal studies as part of our homeschool curriculum. And so currently we're trying to stay in line with what's actually available right now. And so we're currently reading the Calendula book. So we've come out and they've helped me harvest some, and yeah, it's been really fun. So I think I still have hopes of making a, Calendula raspberry chocolate chip muffin. Sounds really good, and I kind of love incorporating herbs into our day-to-day life. So that hopefully is still gonna happen. Depends on the day. Hi guys, welcome back. Well, for me, it's actually Saturday morning now. The camera overheated outside yesterday. Or no, was that Wednesday? I don't actually remember what day it was. But when the first half of this video, the camera overheated because it was the middle of the day. I really should have known better, but haven't had a chance to get back out. Today's actually Saturday morning, so now I'm gonna go finish our tour so that we can get this up for you guys. We did have to harvest the potatoes because the chipmunks found them and had been chewing on a bunch of them, so we didn't really want to lose any more. So we did go ahead and do that, so I'll show you our harvest. I haven't weighed anything, but it's a pretty sizable bowl that we're using. So next is showing the tomatoes. However, I'm gonna start in here. So here's the cherry tomato. There's actually another bundle hanging on the other side of this window. So went out one morning and our cherry tomato had broken and completely fallen over. Very, very sad. It was starting to struggle with some blight, so I don't know if that weakened it. I don't know if we didn't have it tied up quite securely enough. And we also got some heavy thunderstorms, so maybe that just, everything combined just didn't end. So I snipped off everything that looked like it was could turn into a sizable cherry tomato. Brought it in here, hung it up to ripen. At least they get to ripen on the vine still. So we've been eating lots of cherry tomatoes because I really don't want these to go to waste. Thankfully, my 5-year-old will not eat cherry tomatoes. Oh, that's bright. Will not eat cherry tomatoes from the store, but he will eat them from our garden. So that's been, just sliced up cherry tomatoes has been kind of a staple with our lunches. Alright, so it did, oh goodness, this hasn't been cut yet. It did rain a bit last night or this morning, so it's a little damp and squishy, and wow, our front yard is really overgrown. This is not the easiest way to get to the tomatoes anymore. Time for the weed whacker. Goodness. Ah! I have to check for ticks when I get inside. Okay. Whew. Made it. Alright, so, show you the tomatoes. Well, this is obviously where that cherry tomato was that I was telling you about. I just cut the whole thing off and it was sick. And then this one over here actually needs to get a little side shoot strung up or tied up. So these are the white tomasol tomatoes. These were actually the freebie seeds that I got from Baker Creek when I put the order in. And they're actually doing pretty well. As you can see, they're getting fairly decent sized. I did pick a couple of these a little bit unripe and bring them inside in our house. because they were like way down here, and I wanted to make sure that we didn't lose them to vermin. But as you can see, I think this one is also starting to struggle with some blight. I've been cutting off these leaves that have, see, like this one here has the really bad spots. So I think we're just, I mean, we're middle of August, things are starting to get sick. That's just kind of the way it goes. We had a really dry summer, and then we got like a week of thunderstorms, so that probably did them in. So this guy here, you can't really see very well because it's kind of blended in with all the weeds back behind it. This is the first Arctic rose, and this one was the foliar fed only. It actually has been the most stunted, and I would probably say is the second most sick. So I'll give it a go again next year, but I'm not impressed with foliar feeding so far. Just even as far as growth went, it was the slowest to fruit, and it was the smallest plant. And then here's this one. This one got foliar feeding and fertilizer in the dirt. See, they're just getting sick. All these yellow branches, and I'm trying to cut them off. Looks like something might have nibbled on this one down here a little bit, possibly. But I did pick a couple of these. Like this guy over here is probably ripe to get picked now and finish off inside the house. Yeah, I mean, they're hanging in there, but hopefully we can just get what we can get out of them before they give up. And this one, it rained, so now everything's falling over. Get off. The weeds on our property this year are insane. Okay, now you can actually see it, kind of. So this one was the fertilizer only. Gosh, look at the size of that guy. This thing's loaded for how tiny of a plant it is. So these are the Arctic roses. They don't get very big, but then they give you a ton of fruit. They are determinate, so obviously I'm not gonna get, you know, just massive amounts of fruit, but you know, if I get any, I'm happy, really. They do fairly well for this climate. I'm still experimenting with tomato varieties that do well here. And this one does, but I don't know. If I find something that's better, I will grow that. But this guy was just fertilizer in the soil, and was pretty consistently the biggest, and definitely has the biggest fruit, and started fruiting. I think this guy might have started fruiting first, but I mean, as you saw, these tomatoes are much larger than the other two. So yeah, weird year for tomatoes. Okay, so the other thing that I wanted to show you guys, oh my goodness, there's a little baby sunflower. So we've got volunteer sunflowers that come up every year because I guess we just don't get to harvest the seeds quite in time. Calendula Patch is doing pretty well. Okay, so I want to show you guys our project that we are working on when we are not losing our minds with our chaos of our life. So this is supposed to be a walkway. There's a little clematis over here that we actually thought we pulled out last year. Obviously didn't get all of it. There's just weeds, and some weeds I've already cut and they just left here. More weeds. We did have a volunteer tomato hanging out in here somewhere. I think it finally died. And then our volunteer sunflowers in the walkway. But yeah, so this is like a total overgrown jungle back here. Like, this is all coming in from the side. There's a wheelbarrow. I'll talk about that in a second. And this is actually kind of normal, kind of overgrown. This is a chocolate mint patch that we just haven't really maintained. So as you can see, a lot of this is chocolate mint with just like some other weeds that grew up in between. I'm really not sure what the small tree is, but we should probably cut that out too. So yeah, and all of that back there should be a walkway. It's completely overgrown with ground ivy. All that over there is totally overgrown with ground ivy. And then this that cuts between the chicken coop and the garden bed, totally overgrown. So I was out here one day and I was like, you know what, I'm sick of this. So I went and got our rake, and not like the leaf rake, but the sturdy one. And I just started going to town and tearing up the ground ivy. That's what I was starting with. And then I was like, well, you know what? Like, this is more than just the ground ivy. The problem is there is weed fabric here, and then there was just wood chips thrown on top, and the wood chips totally broke down. So basically all of these weeds are growing on top of the weed fabric, which I do know mulch you have to redo every couple of years. I don't know when they laid this layer down. Like I said, we've only been in this house for 2 years. Did not do this last year, so I'm assuming, you know, this was the year that we were meant to redo it all. So we are slowly, because we're doing it ourselves, and as you've heard in our updates, we're crazy. So I'll show you the patch of what Joe started, which is also starting to get a little overgrown now. But even like, look, so just this little amount of dirt that was exposed on top of the weed barrier legit has weeds growing in it. This is insane. So we started just digging up all of the broken down mulch and dirt. That's what the wheelbarrow was for. It got knocked over in one of the storms. Or it got filled with water and then we dumped it out. Yeah, so like we dug down to this. We found that there is no weed barrier over on this side, thus the overgrown jungle. So we're going to be tearing out all of that, putting down new weed barrier fabric. We'll probably put another layer down on top of this, and then repeat that entire process all the way over there, all the way between. There is wood here framing the chocolate mint, so we'll probably tear out everything in the actual walkway. We did find this wood beam that goes across this way. I don't know what that's all about. We're just kind of gonna ignore that. And then you can see where we stopped. So then it's gonna go that way. And the plan is to actually, instead of just redoing this cycle of mulch turning into an overgrown jungle every couple of years, we actually want to put down some like pea gravel. And we're debating whether to do some like decorative like flagship stones as like a walkway around the whole garden. Obviously we're not at that point yet because we're still in the demo phase, but you know, it's a lot of sweat equity, time, and yeah, really just time and effort, and that's something we've been in short supply lately. But I will show you part of what our grand vision is. Oh, come on. Sorry, it's morning, so the sun's really bright. There we go. I will show you part of what our grand vision is, though, because I'm pretty excited about this. Okay, so here is our potato bed. As you can see, the potatoes are torn out. So it's zucchini melon bed now. So, over here, we want to continue that walkway with the gravel all the way up through here, all over this, and then all the way past our spring bed. Right here, we want to do another roughly 6x6 bed. There's a little bit of an angle here for the edge of the driveway, so we'll follow that angle so it won't be 100% square. But we want to have this side squared up with that bed. And then we're talking about putting some sort of like actual tile down here in the middle. And that would be like sitting area, maybe putting an umbrella out here with a little table. Nothing too big. Nothing too big, and nothing, you know, we're not talking about like a huge gazebo or anything, but you know, someplace that we can just kind of come sit out here, have shade, because our only shade is back way under the tree. Otherwise it's just wide open, And I'm sorry, but me and my kids are like the palest white people you've ever seen. And I really, really hate just lathering them up in sunscreen just to go play outside. So at the very least, if we have some place that's shaded, like they can come sit down, take a drink, take a rest. When we're doing schoolwork, we can come out here and work in the backyard in the middle of the garden. Like, that makes my heart sing. When I'm doing my own schoolwork, if I just need to come out and get in the right headspace, I can come out and just sit here and, you know, work on my math. So that's our long-term end game here. But I think I've probably rambled on plenty long enough for this video. Poor Joe has to edit this down. Out in the front yard, the elderberries are doing really well. Well, one elderberry is doing really well. We're actually getting really close to harvesting the berries from it. The other one is just sick. I thought it might be okay because the leaves and the foliage were still growing, but every single flower cluster just like turned brown, shriveled, and fell off. So I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull that, do a little bit more like tilling up and solarizing that soil to kill off any, if there's any pathogens or also just the weeds and perennials that had been there before. Just like really kind of sterilize it. Go back in, add some good compost, some good soil, and then get a new elderberry plant and put that in there. Because we really do want one in that spot. It's just that particular one. I don't know if it's sick. I don't know if it's infested. I don't know if there's something wrong with the soil. Thought about doing a soil test, just haven't really had the chance to do that. So nobody that I've shown the pictures to has been able to figure out what's wrong with it. So I think we're just gonna quit while we're ahead and start over. Okay, so like I said, I've talked plenty long enough, so I'm gonna let you guys go. I hope you enjoyed looking at our overgrown backyard jungle, which also produces food. And we'll catch you guys on the next video, which will probably be making kombucha. And then I also want to do one on one of my favorite ways that I've found to use up some of these cucumbers, because my fridge is full of cucumbers, my counter is full of cucumbers. I do not do any canning yet, so my fridge is full of pickles as well. Like, there's only so many pickles you can make and actually eat in 2 weeks. Yeah, so I found a pretty cool way to use them up, so I might share that. And definitely the kombucha is coming up soon. So thank you guys so much for all your support. It means the world to us, and we will catch you on the next one. Make sure you go follow on at the Scruffy Fam, and then also I am at the Scruffy Mama. I'm getting more active on there. There's a lot of, this is a whole tangent that I'm not going to go down, but Facebook has a lot of anger lately, and I'm not feeling that vibe. So I'm kind of trying to stay off of it for a while, which means that I'm getting more active on Instagram because I love looking at the pretty pictures and making pretty pictures. So check me out on Instagram, and we will catch you guys in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.